Please welcome Akbar, co-founder and CEO of SFOX.
Hello. Can everyone hear me back there? Yeah? Okay, good. So, okay, that's fine. We just talked about AI, right, which is a 70-year journey. And now we're going to talk about blockchain. And it's only 7 years old. So it has another 70 years before it becomes real, right? Probably not. Well, let me ask you a quick question. How many of you have Bitcoin here? Quite a few. And how many people know what a blockchain is? Oh, great. So I'm done. Thank you so much. I'm going to talk about blockchain and how it works in the travel space. Now, we're talking about a distributed network. What is a blockchain? And this is not a technical definition. This is my definition for the talk, right? It is a distributed network that allows you to securely transfer something of value from one person to another. Now, you're going to say, hey, I could do that. I can email everyone. It's valuable to me, and I can send it to you, and you're on a different email network, and it's fine. Well, that's true. But the difference here is that this something of value cannot be duplicated. So like a dollar bill, if I give you a dollar bill, you couldn't just make a copy and send it to someone else. That is a difference in something of value on the blockchain. The other difference is it works between strangers. Right? So, email, generally you're sending to someone that you know unless you're spamming. But for something of value, if I'm going to do a booking, I don't know the other person is on the other side of that transaction. So when you're dealing with strangers, blockchain comes in very handy. Now I'm going to warn you, this is the most technical slide that you're going to see today. So if you just bear with me, if you get this, you'll understand blockchain, Bitcoin, and everything else. So on the left side, I have a Bitcoin. And it's protected by a private key. The best way to think about this is your password, right? If you have an email, you have a password, you're protecting it. That's kind of what a private key is. And when you're sending something of value, right, Bitcoin in this case, to another person, what you need to know is their address, effectively their email address, if you will. In this case, your blockchain address. Now, these are cryptic. These are, 30-some characters long, depending on the blockchain you're using. But that's okay, because emails were like that too, right? If you remember way, way back in the day, there were IP addresses that we used to use, which we don't think about anymore. So that's what these cryptic addresses are. And when you do that transaction, when you do that transfer, it's recorded on a ledger, and the ledger is called a blockchain. And the person that confirms that transaction saying, hey, I saw this, and I witnessed this transaction, is a miner. And that makes every single blockchain that you ever look at has these kind of attributes, but they're done in just different words and different technologies, basically. Now, why am I talking about blockchain? Well, the beauty of blockchain is it's a distributed network that allows you to transfer something of value. And can you think of anything else that's more distributed than travel? These are the number of options. If you're a traveler, you're starting, these are the number of things you go through to get your booking. In fact, to me, this is the most entertaining part, is airlines, hotels, the actual experience of travel is not even on this list. It's at the bottom of this list. There are 500,000 hotel properties around the world. 500,000 hotels around the world. There are 135,000 travel agents around the world. And we have probably a lot more in terms of just being able to do online booking. So how do what's the next wave of kind of travel booking, if you will, right? There's so much innovation in booking. What's the next wave? And I think it's really going direct to the property. We don't need that many middlemen. We just don't. That's, if you think about the number of middlemen there, and you think about every single person taking 5 to 10%, that's, if you look at the hotel or the person providing the experience, they're getting half of that, if not less than that. So I think that the next wave in travel will be going direct, distributed distribution, I guess, or direct distribution. Basically, you just finding the hotel and directly booking with them without 20 different middlemen. How do you get there? And I'll talk about that. Just, why am I talking about this is basically, this is something I've actually been passionate about. In my travels, I always noticed that the people providing the service were the ones that got the least. And I wanted to change that, so I went and worked for a payments company. I thought it was a payments problem. So I went and worked for a payments company called Boku. It wasn't a payments problem. So then I said, well, how can we do this? And when I learned about Airbnb, we were in a room probably the size of this area right here, 15 people. And I joined them to say, how do we do direct booking, but in this case with our own supply of properties? And I thought that was very interesting. And we enabled it. We enabled direct booking. There is no middleman. It goes direct from the person traveling all the way to the experience. And then I started this company called SFox, which enables you to do currency transfer on the blockchain, and I'll talk about that later. But let's talk about Airbnb for a second. What is Airbnb selling? It has no inventory. Frankly, it doesn't even know much about the specific location you're visiting. And for the most part, it really doesn't know much about you, right? Maybe what you've done on Airbnb, but not necessarily through all the other systems. And yet, people use Airbnb because of one thing. Anyone guess what Airbnb is selling?
Trust.
It's selling trust. We talked before, right? Yeah. So it's selling trust. And how is it selling trust? Well, there are many features to it, but let me talk about 4 different high-level features that Airbnb is selling. When you have so much fragmentation, you have so many different places, people, you want to be able to discover and be able to find and search and be able to review and know that, hey, this is a legitimate property, it's a good property, and I can be there. And that's one thing Airbnb is selling. The second is you're staying in someone's home. I actually want to know if someone's staying in my home, who that person is. If I'm staying in someone's home, that, I'll be safe there. So identity is equally important. But once I find a place on Airbnb, I want to be able to do a contract. I want to say, hey, this is a legitimate transaction. I want to, when is it available? I'll pay you, I guarantee it. And then I want to make sure that the payment gets to the person, and as a host, I want to make sure I can receive that amount of money. And my question is, can all of this be done on a blockchain such that any hotel, any tour operator, anyone providing a travel experience just uses that to distribute its products? What you see at the bottom is the green bars. It's kind of progress of where the blockchain is today. You certainly can. A lot of this data is now digital, and they could upload it to a location. But right now, there isn't a distributed storage system on the blockchain yet. There are companies like Filecoin and storage that actually allow you to do that, but it's still very, very early. But knowing how fast technology moves, I wouldn't be surprised within a year or two that we could actually start putting discovery algorithms on the blockchain. Identity is another where you could use, there are a lot of technologies on the blockchain about identity. One name being one of them. You also have CoinTag and a couple others that are working on this. But the beauty of blockchain is that the idea is you have 2 people who don't know each other. So maybe you don't even need the identity piece. Contracts, like being able to do a transaction and being able to sign something together and then being able to pay. I think that's where blockchain is actually furthest along. And we'll talk about, that's an area that we work on a lot. And 10% of our revenue comes from hotels doing their booking using blockchain, blockchain contracts and payments. But as we look into the future and being able to just walk into a hotel and know that the room's there and it's ready for my comfort and be able to pay for every single experience. Okay. The big question is, how do we do that when the number 1 technology in the space is a fax machine? right? If you ask any hotel, like, hey, here's a fax machine, like, I'll take your fax machine away, they are not going to be happy. That's how they get their payments. That's how they get their booking information. So while all the consumer part is doing really well, the back office is completely based on the fax machine. So what I'm going to do is kind of walk through how that can change, right? And just really quickly, a journey of a customer that is going to a travel agent, maybe an online travel agency, which is, could be in any country, it doesn't really matter, right? You're making that payment to the travel agency today. The travel agency generally works with a destination management company to find you, it could be a GDS, it could be other different sources of intermediaries, who then sometimes works with a hotel chain, which again could be in a different country, who then sends money to a property. And all of these are different currencies that you're going through just for that one transaction. And sometimes the money has to come back from property to the intermediary as a commission. I'm not trying to talk about taxes, that's a different seminar. But at the end of the day, all of that could be simplified with one transaction. Right? The travel agent could quickly send information, put an electronic contract together, recognize that all of these parties have to be paid along the way, and make that payment, and all of this could be done today in real time. I only have 2 more minutes. I'm going to rush and just tell you a little bit about my company, and then I think we have another panel session after to talk more, and maybe we can take questions then. Just about the company, what we do is we are a currency trading platform on the blockchain, and we want to solve that one problem, which is booking and making booking easier for travel industries and hotels. And today, if you look at kind of what they use for banking infrastructure, to transfer money for commission and whatnot, it's built on old infrastructure called banks. And we do it completely on the blockchain. We do it on low fees, and it's in real time. This chart, the only reason I put it up there is to kind of highlight that we're talking about big numbers here. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars that we're doing, and 10% of that is actually hotels. So even though we joke about hotels using a fax machine, or at least I do, the fact is they're very open to new technology. And they're really eager to say, I really don't want to use the fax machine, and if you can take it away, please do. So if the fax machine is bugging you, please contact me, and that's it. Thank you.